And now it's time to sip the coffee and spill the tea on Talking with 3D Live. Here's your host, Derrick Dixon.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Talking with 3D Live. I'm your host, Derrick Dixon, and this is where we always sip the coffee, spill the tea. Listen, today we're going to be spilling the tea a little country style. I got my friend here, Mark Baile, is in the house, and I am excited to have him here and talk with him about some country music and the country style. But before we get started, do me a big favor. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Click it, love it, share it, do all those things, and make sure that all your friends are listening, because we want to make sure that everybody is checking out Talking with 3D Live. You know it's an iRose film production. But we're going to get started with my friend here. Mark Baile is in the house. Mr. Baile, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Derrick. Appreciate you.
I'm really excited to have you.
Well, thank you.
Before we even started the show, you sang some music, and I was I was intrigued. I was like, wow, I got a superstar here.
Oh, well, no.
But listen, I want to tell, because we've got so much to talk about, and I don't even want to prolong it. I want to tell everyone a little bit about country music, because everyone doesn't listen to country music, and where country music started, how it got started. And I think that, you know, the industry and the music genre nowadays is that we don't take the time to find out about different genres that are going on out there. You know, if you're stuck on R&B, if you're stuck on rap, but you don't give music a chance.
That's true. It's true.
We don't give music a chance. And we see so many people crossing over. You know, we'll talk a little bit about that. We got Lil Nas X, we got Beyonce, we got a lot of people crossing over the country, but we have, you know, country singers that also do gospel and other genres as well. So I just want to tell my listeners, country music emerged in the rural southern United States during the early 20th century, blending folk traditions of various settlers with blues and gospel elements. It gained popularity through the radio and live performances in the 1920s and 1930s. Early recordings like those of the Carter family, Jimmy Rogers, established the genre's place in American music. You know, we have names in that make country: Dolly Parton, Johnny Cash, we have Patsy Cline, Garth Brooks, we have Charlie Pride, Aaron Neville. And then country music was also known as honky tonk, country western, and outlaw country. Today we just call it country music.
Country music,
Country music. Yep. So I'm here with Mark Baile, and can I tell everybody just a little bit more about Mark Baile today?
Please do, yeah, sure.
Mark, he has a passion that started playing music since the age of 5. At the age of 9, received his first drum from his dad that began his career as a drummer. With the support of the family and friends, starting performing as a singer, a songwriter, and wrote his first song in 1987 called Something Inside. He met his wife Teresa in 1992, been married 30 plus years.
Coming up on 31. Yeah.
31 years. Mm-hmm. His inspiration, his wife, his great-grandchildren, and his family and friends in general. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Mark Baile.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you touched on a good part, that country music basically started back in the down south part of it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize that the country music was driven by the colored folks back then, right? And the Carter family made it very popular. But if you think about it, a lot of it stems from hardworking people just trying to take and be able to relate to a soul story, right? So country music got founded by taking and telling a story about life and it being relatable to everybody, right?
Right.
So I think that's the big thing that we all kind of enjoy about country music, is somewhere along the lyric itself, it talks about something we've gone through or are going through at the time, right?
Today's episode of Talking with 3D Live is brought to you by iRose Films. iRose Films photo booth will capture every special event, from birthday parties, weddings, baby showers. They also specialize in 360 booths, also videography. So please make sure that anytime that you have a special event, contact iRose Films, irosefilms.com.
Driving it forward, you talked about like the genres, the different pieces of country music. Well, as we're moving forward nowadays, the genre, the name genre, I think a lot of people are eliminating that name because the thing is people are tired of putting a label on everything, right? They're looking towards just listening to music and having a flavor, and that's why underground radio has become very popular. Independent recording artists like myself have blossomed, and we're taking over close to 80% of the market nowadays because the major labels themselves, they want to take and keep a certain thumbprint on everything, where the people are just, hey, when I want to listen to a song, I want to listen to a song. If it's jazz, I want to listen to jazz. If it's country, I want to listen to country. And it doesn't matter whether it's old outlaw country or if it's the modern country, whatever flavor you have. Now, with me, I have more of the flavor towards what I grew up with, which is like the outlaw Waylon Jennings kind of country and stuff like that. So that's where I more or less write towards. However, I also take to the gospel side of it as well. Thus the reason I take and write like song Sinner's Son, and those kind of songs just talk about finding your way through a hard time in life,
Yeah. And I love the fact that when, like you said, country music, it does talk about life.
Yes.
And a lot of times when you and it could be something very simple, it could be something traumatic.
Most definitely.
And country music, they will write about that. I listened to one of your songs, The Rain, Taylor's song.
Yes.
And the words in it, she fed his ambition, he drank from her soul. She believed in someone that was out of control, a demon in sheep's clothing saying, you'll never fly. Everyone was hoping and praying one day, just one day, she tried. Where does that pull from?
So I got to meet Taylor. She actually is the daughter of a friend of my wife's. They work together. And Taylor went through a traumatic situation where she was with a guy that was very abusive to her in Texas. And basically at that time, she was just trying to take and find her way. And unfortunately, she kind of fell in love with this guy. Well, he just kind of abused her and used her. And then basically one day she used to make like bread and bagels at a factory. And one day she was spinning up the dough and turned the machine off. And before the machine stopped, she reached down in there and she broke her arm in 7 places and ripped her ear off. And so he disappeared at that point, nowhere to be found.
Didn't want her anymore.
But he did things crazy, like he took a gun, and he shot his own eye out, and did things like that. But the whole story, the whole synopsis of that story is understanding that as you're walking and you entrust in somebody, sometimes we have a tendency to entrust so much of ourselves into that person, we actually lose ourselves, right? And that was her situation. She lost herself by believing so much into somebody that didn't believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And so finally it took a tragedy for her to take and realize that she was worth so much more. And so that song, I wrote that song in a perspective of the father saying, Taylor, you can move away from this.
Yeah.
Don't buy into the mediocrity of that style of life. Grow out of it, become something better, something bigger. And luckily she did. She's doing beautiful now. She's newly engaged and she's getting ready to, I think in the future, get married. But I'm so proud of her. But I actually sat and talked to her about 2 hours, and within about 15 minutes I wrote that song.
You wrote that song. Wow. Yeah. I want to go back just a little bit. Tell me about the Dixie Highway Band.
Dixie Highway Band. I spent a lot of my life playing drums for them. Great people, very inspiring to me. Ron Carney was the bass player and Dusty Springer was the piano player. Back in the early 80s, I took and started playing drums with them at a honky tonk, and we just took and kind of kicked it off. I left them for a brief period of time to go play rock music with a band called Barracuda. still playing drums. But then it didn't last very long, so I came back to where my honky-tonk roots were.
Right.
And I played with them on and off for about 32 years.
Wow.
And Ron and Dusty instilled a lot of good things into me as far as being a musician, a writer. I always had a passion for writing, but Ron would sit with me in his studio in the early 90s and help me blossom my writing skill. And we would record stuff, but he would be there to try to help me. And Dusty, believe it or not, I tried to sing a song back in the early 90s, and Dusty was dealing with a kidney stone, or I'm sorry, a gallstone or something like that. And she went in the back room because she was hurting so bad. And I tried to sing Pretty Woman. Of course, I don't have the high voice to sing Pretty Woman, but I tried to sing it. Well, in her pain, she came back out and she sang Pretty Woman for me. So needless to say, you know, as far as the vocal part of it, she's the one that trained me on my vocal. Wow. And without her, I wouldn't be the singer I am today. So I give credit where credit's due. They helped build me, that's for sure.
Well, you have written close to 1,000 songs. You recorded and released 28 of them.
Yes.
Your top two singles, Sinner's Son and the Rain Taylor song.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell me about Sinner's Son.
Sinner's Son is a story about me. I grew up, my parents divorced when I was 5. Grew up a little bit of a hard life, you know, taking in, my dad was in the Navy. He got out of the Navy, and he struggled with a couple things, like for what do you call it, post-traumatic stress syndrome nowadays, but back then it was called shell shock. Then my parents got divorced, and it was just Dad and me, and Dad was fighting to try to figure out where his part of life was. And my mom, you know, I didn't see her very much. But then basically I kind of moved out on my own when I was 18. And basically I loved to fight back in the day. It was one of my things. It was just, it was an emotion that I could take and pour into something. And I loved to fight. It was until I was living over Ingleside Cafe back in the day. And unfortunately the owner got killed. So it kind of put me out on the street. My mom found me. My mom found me and brought me in, and she took and helped me a lot of ways. She cooked me a home meal and taught me, you know, what it was love was from my mother. And 2 years later, I met my wife Teresa. So we call her T. And basically it blossomed from that. So it was basically a story about, you know, growing up, taking and understanding what it was to kind of be a little bit of an outlaw or a bad boy, but also, you know, enjoy the things in life, you know, the strip clubs, the girls, the motorcycles, you know, all that stuff. It was all my life, you know. But it was a true story, so.
Yeah. So you get into music, then you decide, I'm going to take some time off. You took a 6-year pause because of the political side of the music industry. And you thought, let me weigh this out. Let me make sure this is where I need to be. You know, so within that 6-year span, what did you find out about Mark Baile?
Well, I think back then I was really trying to focus on developing my relationship with my wife, raising my kids. I think I was trying to get a grip on our relationship because I married her, and you know, I needed time for that to develop and to make sure that I committed to that. And basically, being a young marriage, you always want to make sure you invest into it, just like anything else. And I didn't want to do it an injustice. Even though she supported me playing music and being out there doing that, I was like, I really need to focus on this. And behind the scenes, I would still sit down and I would still pick up my guitar and I write. But I would take and be more focused on the kids, raising them and helping her and enjoying more or less the family life, you know. But unfortunately, music has always been a part of my soul. So I love to share pieces of my soul with everybody, because somewhere along the line, like we were talking before, is somebody else needs it, you know. And you know, in my regular job, I'm a teacher, you know, and basically my big part of my life is basically helping people to understand the importance of their value. And being a songwriter, I kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
I just do it on a larger spectrum, right? But on a personal scale, I just, you know, if I can build value or see somebody, help them build their value within themselves, and that is more important to me.
Music, and like you say, music is so important to people as far as getting through hard times, and it does something to your soul. You know, it depends on what you're listening to and where you're at in life. You may be in a dark place, and that one song can help you through.
Yes.
You know, has the songs that you've written helped you through, you know, certain situations? Has it been therapy for your soul?
I find it that it's probably more, I write, yes, to take and help myself, but I write more so to know that I'm helping somebody else. I'm not been one of them kind of persons about me, you know.
Okay.
I'm more or less about, let's write something that's going to help somebody else, you know. And I always write the truth, so I write things that have happened in life, or to me, or I've seen somebody else go through.
Yeah.
Because somewhere along the line, it needs a voice, right?
It needs a voice, yes.
And basically, music is the universal language. And everybody and anybody, I don't care your culture or anything, it touches everybody. So it's the universal thing that we can all reach out and kind of shake each other's hand and say, you know what, I understand. I understand. So,
And I'm so glad that we went this way, because, you know, a lot of people, I want to talk about Beyonce. And a lot of people have given, in the country industry, have given her a lot of flack because of the fact that she has done pop, she's done R&B, now she's doing country. She has her song Country Carter Cowboy, Cowboy Carter. I don't want to say it wrong because I don't want the Beehive to come get me. So, and there a lot of songs that she has sung, they're saying that, you know, the country American Music Awards, things like that, have pushed her out of it. And I understand that when someone is country, diehard country music, this is what they live. So you see someone now all of a sudden say, oh, now I want to put out a country album, and I need everyone to accept me because of the fact that I'm putting out a country album. You know, how do you feel about that? Because like you said, music is music. People, you know, whatever genres that they're in, we should all come together. But a lot of people, it's just like, I live on this side of town. I'm going to stay on this side of town because I don't understand that side of town.
yeah.
You know? So I feel like her coming into country music, okay, we've accepted you in the country music. Then all of a sudden she'll jump from country, maybe go to gospel music. Now we got to accept her into gospel music. So how do you feel about Beyonce jumping into the country realm?
Be honest with you, I really don't have anything as far as that is concerned. I mean, you look at Jelly Roll, he jumped from the hip hop into country music, and then, you know, you got Darius Rucker to jump from you know, the heavy or rock bands into it. I think it's just depends on how it's being received by the audience. You know, I think if people feel like there's a vendetta or there's something behind it, like just to maybe get chart readings, then at that point it becomes something, because country music is about being genuine. You know, it's about reaching your soul. It's about taking and speaking the truth, right? And it's a very delicate place for a lot of people.
Yes.
You know, that's why a lot of people have a hard time with country music, because it touches on a place that they have a hard time themselves reaching into, right?
Yeah.
So it depends on, you know, a lot of people receive things according to what they feel like, if they're being genuine or not about it. So to say if Beyonce was genuine about it, I don't know. You know, I mean, that's a bigger game than I really know, right? But I think what it comes down to, what I think a lot of us artists are getting tired of, is the actual quote unquote genre. You know, if I want to write a rock song, I'll write a rock song.
Yeah.
But that's me as a songwriter. You know, I'm different. I'm not so much the performer that's out there, even though I am a performer. But as a writer, I don't have a particular genre. I have flavor. I have emotion. I have that whatever's inside. If I want to write a gospel or a soul song, I'll write a gospel or soul song. If I want to write a heavy metal song or a rock song, I'll write a rock song. If I want to write a country song, I'll write a country song. It depends on where I'm at that point. Me being a writer, I've pretty much grew up writing country music most of my life, because it's where I learned my emotional part of my lifestyle, where I was in contact with it for a long time. So it's something that drives that home. But you know, to be honest with you, I wish her a whole lot of success, and I think she's got a great fan base. You know, and I think eventually things will kind of probably work out. But at this point, I don't really have an opinion on it.
Yeah. I hear you when you're saying that you know, music should come from the soul, regardless of what you're writing about. It should come from the soul, and it should be able to help people,
Right.
regardless of where they're at in life. You know, because where we're at in the world today, music is the one thing that you can sit and listen to, and it could release so many issues that you know that are touching you at the time. So I hear you when you're saying music should just come from the soul, come from the heart, and write what you feel is the truth. It's your truth.
It's true. It's like how many times, and you can think about this yourself, how many times you sat behind the steering wheel in a parked car and listened to a song and tears ran down your face, you know, and just it just reached some place that no other song has ever reached, and it just hits you, and a lot of times what people don't realize, when you're letting them tears roll out of your eyes, it's actually a cleansing of your soul, right? And it allows you to take and get rid of something that's been weighing you down so hard, to give way to something maybe that lifts you up, right? And that's kind of what country music's about, you know? It's going to hit that part that's going to make you cry, and then you're going to take and either fill it with more sorrow, or you're going to fill it with some happiness or joy. So you got to figure it out, you know?
Mark, you do so many other things. You do charity organization, Big Country's Toys.
Yes.
Tell me about the charity.
Well, for this is my 14th year of doing Big Country's Toys. I worked very closely with Millstream Gentlemen's Club. All the ladies there helped me with taking in gathering toys. Mickey, I call her my head elf. She is so amazing. She always gets all that organized for me. My daughter is probably going to be taking it over here before long. And then my wife, my dad's so heavily involved with it. So basically at that point, you know, he's always organizing the toys according to the ages and stuff like that. And we give to all the big charity organizations like Live, Hope, Laugh. These are all special needs kids that have that parents can't really afford to get gifts for their kids. We have Shepherd Staff. We have other organizations that just take in. We're trying to help out, but above that, we get involved with individual families. So, and that's where it that really hits the heartstrings, you know, when sometimes the families will share, sometimes they won't, and it's not really about that. But, you know, that's the big thing that I love, just helping give back somewhere along the line.
I love everything that you stand for. I've learned so much more about country music, where the root of it comes from, the writing of it. You know, even in this little bit of time, you seem to understand more about something. And like, you know, like you're saying, it's not just a genre. It's music.
music.
And if we see it as just, you know, music and understand, I see that you brought someone with you.
Yeah.
Does your guitar, does it have a name?
Well, this is, I got several guitars. This is my carbon fiber. I call it my bulletproof guitar, right?
Okay.
God forbid I ever get shot at. This will be the guitar that takes the bullet. But yeah, this is my carbon fiber. So I take this back and forth to Nashville a lot because it will sustain the airfare. Because a normal guitar will bow, the neck will bow, but a carbon fiber won't.
Okay.
So I do this. I played in Leaper's Fork where a lot of your stars live at, and I use this guitar with hip hop artist Doughboy. He's a good friend of mine. Him and his wife, they have a band called Relentless Hope. We came very strong at that. But yeah, no, this is my my go-to. But I got this. I got probably, I think I counted them this morning, like 12 acoustic guitars.
Wow.
My wife says I probably have too many.
Enough. Can you sing something for us?
Sure. Tell you what. I'll do a song. I'll do the song that I'm actually going to go down to Nashville record. I wrote this for my dad.
Okay.
It's called "That's What They Say."
Okay.
I'm an old rusty nail. I'm still driven to get things done. I still work like hell and come home to a good woman. I find it hard to recover from a bender the night before. I had time to discover I can no longer hang till 4. But I'm thankful every day when my feet hit the floor. Yeah, I'm still sharp as hell. Yeah, it's most times I'm in a haze. Yeah, I'm still doing well. Things hurt a little more these days. I'm learning to get by with what I have, and what I have is great. When you get old, you gotta be tough. At least that's what they say. My woman still thinks I'm sexy. In the mirror, I don't see that man. The calluses are all gone that once consumed these hands. I'm finding more time than money, yet it costs me every dime. What insurance companies charge, you know, it's a gosh darn crime. But I'm still getting by, barely getting by. Yeah, I'm still sharp as hell, yet most times I'm in a haze. Yeah, I'm still doing well. Things hurt a little more these days. I'm learning to get by with what I have, and what I have is great. When you get old, you gotta be tough. At least that's what they say. I don't know what's next for me. I'm thankful to see the dawn. I'm part of an old bloodline that'll soon be gone. But I'm still sharp as hell, yet most times I'm in a haze. Yeah, I'm still doing well. Things hurt a little more these days. I'm learning to get by with what I have, and what I have is great. To get old, you gotta be tough. At least that's what they say. When you get old, you gotta be tough. At least that's what they say. At least that's what they say.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Baile, Mark Baile right here on Talking with 3D Live. You have a lot of, you have a video that you are about to shoot.
Yes, well, I got to take and throw it back out to my buddy Dan with iRose Films. Dan and me hooked up quite a few years ago, and Dan has been a great support for me and my music and doing my video. He did Sinner's Son music video, so I tell you what, it's probably one of the best videos I ever shot, and that goes back to iRose Films.
Yeah.
And then he had a big hand also in shooting This Old Hat, a music video, This Old Hat. And then, of course, Big Country Mafia. Big Country Mafia, we've filmed the second part of it here at Island Green in Westminster. And Dan came up and shot that part of it. So those songs there, he's helped me out. And then he's kind of my go-to guy for my music videos now. So great producer, great guy. I dare to say a great friend. So,
Yeah. Are you going to be touring?
I'm doing some local shows. I'm not really doing a whole lot of touring. I'm doing local shows mainly. I go back and forth to Nashville to do some recording and meet with some people, but that's pretty much about it. I'm mainly my focus right now is songwriting. But if a song takes off and you know, or an artist picks it up, then so you know we'll take and cross that path when it comes. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I am so excited. Check out Mark Baile. Mark Baile and the music that he is doing, the country music that he's doing it big here in Maryland. I really appreciate, I have a bigger understanding now of country music, loving it more, and just having you here, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Derrick. Appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you so much. And next time that you have something going on, please make sure you invite me, because I would love to come out and support.
Love it. Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for tuning in to Talking with 3D Live, and go out, love somebody intentionally. Mark, do you got a song that you could take us out with?
Let's see here. I hear that train a-comin', it's rolling round the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. Well, I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, time keeps dragging on. Well, I hear that lonesome whistle on down to San Antone. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. Well, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.